I grew up just like any other kid in Newport, Newfoundland. Around, on, sometimes even in the water. I grew up wanting to be a sailor, just like my father. I eventually sailed on ships all over the world for 20 years. Then I met this guy, Greg Wells. He bought a 100-year-old church in my hometown. Along with a great team of people, there's some very special things happening there. My name is Ryan Gates. This is my hometown of Winterton, Newfoundland. This is Downey's Bank, Silly Cove Records podcast. Hey, well, welcome to the Downey's Bank podcast. First of all, that intro, I love it. I think it's awesome. Great job. I got to give credit where credit is due. The music you heard is written and performed by Brad Tuck from Hants Harbor. If you're not familiar with Brad's music, shame on you. Get out, get that stuff. He's all over YouTube, Spotify, you name it. You can hook up with Brad's music. But also this logo right here. Designed by Courtney Wicks. Oddly enough, Courtney is a jack of all trades. She's a children's author, singer, registered nurse, crab fisherman, you name it. She does it. And Courtney had a little stint of graphic design work when she was trying to figure out what she wanted to be when she grew up. So, mad props to Courtney for creating something which is exactly what I wanted for this podcast. More on the logo shortly. But this is a pilot episode, of course, for Downey's Bank podcast. And the purpose of a pilot is to let everyone know what it's going to be about. So first of all, a podcast is exactly what you've heard in the past when we've been down that road. It's unscripted, as you can tell, lighthearted in my case. No big hard-hitting issues in this one. We're going to have a bit of fun with this. But most of all, you can access it all online for free. We'll be broadcasting our video portion on YouTube, where you'll see all of our beautiful faces and fancy logo design work. Or you'll be able to listen to it on many of the digital streaming providers, such as Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, all that good stuff. So that's what a podcast is for anyone who didn't know. More importantly, it's a means for us to get information out as to what's happening in and around Silly Cove Records. That's the primary purpose of this podcast, while having a bit of fun. So bring you guys into our world and let you see what we see and talk to the people we talk to and be part of this with us. That's the whole game plan. We'll be having on guests with every episode. You're not going to listen to me talk like this. This is a one-off. There'll be guests on every episode, and I'm pleased to announce our very first guest. We'll go big or go home. We're going Hollywood first, right out of the gate with Mr. Greg Wells. None of this would be possible without Greg. The inspiration he's given all of us to do these things, create different forms of art and media, I think is going to have a lasting impact on Newfoundland and Labrador long after all this is done, what we're doing here today. So Greg is going to be our first guest, obviously, and we'll talk to him about the who, what, when, where, why, and how of his Trinity Hall venture and Silly Cove Records. But last but not least, I got to get to the name of the podcast, Downey's Bank. For anyone in my hometown of Winterton, Newfoundland, Downey's Bank is a well-known spot. For a lot of years, it was a kind of a place that was an informal gathering place for fishermen early in the morning. I remember getting up to go out and boat with Dad when we would be at the wreck cod. Well, it was being pre-moratorium days even. But anyway, going out fishing cod and getting up a daylight, going down there. Still, we fellas stood up on Downey's Bank having a yarn. Old fishermen fellas who weren't going out that morning, whatever it might be, stood up just chatting and looking out over the harbor in Winterton, because it was just an easy spot where you could get a good view of the harbor, and it was really close to a lot of the houses there in the Pitcher's Path area and Western Point. But in any case, the name and the design work, after years and years and years of men standing around having a chat, somebody in their genius decided, what a great place to stick a bench so we haven't got to stand around all the time. I'd like to say it was probably, I remember, I think the original bench going in there, I think it was an old church pew. oddly enough, I've been told that the original church pew that was stuck there on the bank was one of the original old pews that came out of the Anglican Church in Winterton. So it's full circle in this story. But that old church pew, they got a lick of paint at one point or another, and it was painted red, and didn't last very long. It was took out to the church because it was in disrepair. And shortly thereafter, there was another bench put back there, and shortly thereafter that didn't hold up, and there was a more of a permanent bench built there that stayed there for a long time, and that was red as well. So for a good part of a generation and a half, maybe two now, there's been a seating spot there on Downey's Bank where you can sit and enjoy the view. The harbor is absolutely beautiful, and the sights and sounds are. If you're not from here, the sights and sounds in Newfoundland, you'll take your breath away. So again, that's the idea. Downey's Bank was a place where people came to get together, informal chat, tell a yarn, tell a few lies. We're going to do a bit of that too, boss. I mean, that's inevitable. Tell a few lies and tell a few stories and have a bit of fun. So this is very, very much meant to be something that we can all enjoy. So again, that's the idea behind the name. I hope you enjoy what's coming up, and stay tuned for episode 1 of the Downey's Bank podcast with none other than Mr. Greg Wells. See you then.